that.
I wish it was Mr. Lego, because he's making like 800 million profit every year. And I met him, and they're a family company, like, and I was just saying to someone, the interesting thing is, when dealing with them, they're like dysfunctional. I mean, the Lego Education is the most difficult people to order anything off. Yeah, like, I have these extra ducks because we had an event and we asked them to send on these ducks, and they arrived like, I ordered them a month beforehand, and they arrived 2 weeks after. And like, I was dealing with the head guy in the UK who promised me, you know, definitely have them. Actually, the ducks, just to start you off there, are what you do is what we give them out usually. And one of the projects I'm involved in, it's to basically find jobs for high-performing autistic people in the IT sector. And one of the things that they start is called Specialist Learning. It was started by a Danish guy a number of years ago. Again, it's one of these inspirational projects, which is part of like Change Nation, the family next week. He's an autistic son. He actually decided he was going to try and create positions for him, and now he's going to get 1 million jobs around the world for people. He's a fantastic logo. The logo is a dandelion. It's quite simple, and the idea is the dandelion, is it a weed or is it a herb? So if you look at someone who's high performing autistic, they are brilliant usually at IT and brilliant at testing. Okay, then you have the downside as regards the actual interpersonal skills. So what they do is they train on a kind of a rolling basis. They train and work with the people who they're going to work with to understand, yeah, look, you're going to have to say, John, come out for coffee, but at the same time, this person is going to be brilliant as regards testing. And I mean, testers, €600 a day is a kind of a minimum in Dublin at the moment for a tester. Companies are crying out for them, and it actually provides employment then for these people. Okay, that's just an aside. My own name, K-I-R-K, yes, there's a Monaghan connection. My father is originally from Inniskeen Parish. My first cousin was the CEO in Louth. We moved, my father actually moved to Cork. So that's why I'm director of Galway Education Centre. So the map isn't upside down. If you're actually from Cork, you know, you look at everything else. And I say that because it actually ties in a little bit afterwards, because, you know, quite often when you're dealing with big companies, you have to keep in mind, you know, that you have to be kind of a bit confident and cocky. I mean, I know you've heard the stories about the Cork people. They say that, you know, you heard about the Cork guy who had an inferiority complex. Yeah, he thought he was the same as everyone else. Okay. You know, the variety of these ones. So anyway, as I said, you know, being a second city, always you feel you're the real capital. Oh, sorry. Okay, what I'm going to do is, oh, I hope this works out. I'm going to show you some clips. We work a lot with some of the bigger companies, and I'm just going to give you some of the lessons that we learned from it. And also, I suppose, how we actually ended up working with some of these companies. Because they're all like little interesting stories. This will give you an idea of... No, it didn't. Okay, how do we do this? Where are we now? Can you help me on this one? Sorry. I want to hit this. I want to play... sorry. Yeah. I want to play a 3 minute clip. Oh, sorry, I played. Have we got some? Anyway, it was a series of projects where we work with kids. To give an example, this week we had a number of major events at the Radisson. So we had primary school kids, over 8,000 of them wrote in Galway, wrote books for us. And then we had prize winners. We had We had 300 of them in during the week. The second night we had what's called a junior first Lego League, where we have 6 to 9-year-olds. We give kits to the teachers, and the teachers work with the kids. Now, we get that sponsored by a company called Medtronic, who are a major maker of stents, and they have over 2,000 people working in Galway. We access the funding from their foundation directly. No? The second night we had a whole range of projects that we work with Medtronic on, everything from healthy living to scientists of the future. So the idea is that we fund a lot of our money from these companies, but particularly from their foundations, so they're not actually taking it out of the companies locally. Big companies, most people think, oh yeah, Microsoft will sponsor that, or SAP will sponsor, Google will sponsor. So companies locally don't have a lot of free spend, particularly the bigger American companies. But what they have is they have foundations, or they have corporate social responsibility people who are either based in Europe or they're based in the States. They're the ones who actually want to spend the money, and they're the ones who you can help. And that's the kind of what I want to get across today is we're looking at thinking big from the point of view that we're a small group of teachers in Galway, and yet we end up working with a guy who's been director of Universal Studios for 12 years. We currently have kids in Galway beta testing software for his company called Tech Games. This is what we're about, Galway Education Centre. We're the same as Monaghan Education Centre, Jimmy McGill over the road. We provide training for all of the teachers in Galway, both primary and post-primary. But about 12, 14 years ago, we got involved in running a science and technology festival in Galway. And from that, because we've developed relationships with companies, we began to be able to access funding to run a whole lot of things, first of all. And the 3 areas we concentrate now are robotics, the STEM as it's called, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and the arts. So we have everything from 6-year-olds to 26-year-olds working on robotics. We have Junior First Lego League 6 to 9, First Lego League, which is actually sponsored by SAP. Most people don't know who SAP are. SAP are usually, between themselves and Oracle, they're the biggest business software company in the world. Like huge, everyone runs on SAP. McDonald's run on SAP, Marks and Spencer's run on SAP, but nobody really knows about them. So they're not actually out to try and sell more product. But what they are out is, they want to be good citizens in their community. We also have a mini sumo competition for second level, which we ran this year. Next year we look for sponsors for that. We generally run something for a year ourselves, out of seed money we have, and then we try and find a sponsor to match up with it the following year. So again, the science and technology, we have everything from designer competitions to Aviator the Future. Next week we will be recruiting 12 kids, 12 to 15-year-olds, who will be sending to Pensacola in Florida. We did this last year, and they will be learning how to basically fly planes and fly simulators there, which is to get them interested in science, technology and engineering. Yeah, it's brilliant for them. Is
that only open for Galway?
Yeah. So, and the thing about it is that what we did with the group last year, we sent 12, and that 12, when we brought them back, we then kept them together with a group. So we brought like Leo Enright down, and he worked with them on Mars. We brought them to the Science Gallery, and we brought Dorina Mulvell in to work with them. So what we're trying to do is develop kids who really have a passion for science, and they're the people that we hope will kind of lead us in the future. Okay, there's some of the people that we actually partner with. And when I'm talking about partnering, it isn't just give us the check, thanks very much. If you're going to partner with someone, you've got to get two things. First of all, you've got to get the CEO in the organisation to really buy into what you want. And in Ireland at the moment, and I mentioned this at a conference lately, an awful lot of the CEOs are in their mid-40s, and they all have kids in the education system themselves. So they're actually aware, and they're very pro anything that's going on in that area. The second thing you need is, you need someone in middle management. Someone who actually will work with you on that kind of maybe once a month basis. Someone who this will work for, because it gives them access into the CEO. They become the first Lego League person in SAP. They become the corporate social responsibility person in Medtronic. So they're the two key things you always have to keep in mind. Just going back to the centre, with myself, I have one full-time, two part-time, and a caretaker. So as Medtronic say, we're lean, okay? What are the lessons we've learned over the years? Okay, I don't kind of move through these, and these are, I suppose, come back. First of all, that's me in the middle. These are my networks. Now, I didn't purposely do this. Someone wanted to do a study lately on networks. She's doing a master's on networks in science, technology, and engineering. She sat down with one page. I think she had about 5 pages. Point I'm making is, and I make it to my own team, I can sit behind the desk and we can just do what the department wants us to do, which is organise courses for teachers, or I can be here, or I can be in Dublin, which will probably have about 2 days a week, or I can be wherever I am. But nobody's going to come in to me behind my desk and say, hey, we want to sponsor you, we want to give you money, we want to do something. It doesn't happen like that. You got to get out there, you got to network. Someone out there mentioned about LinkedIn a minute ago. Yeah, you got to be on LinkedIn, you got to be tweeting. You just have to keep expanding and keeping in touch with people. It's just part of, I wouldn't call it the game, but it's part of life now. Everything to do with network. And there's so many people in networks here that I can connect up with other people. You become pivotal in that in the end. But it is the key to, no matter what business you're in, it's the key to success. Okay, lessons we've learned. First thing, I put it Martin Nocton. The reason I put it Martin is because there's a really nice clip he did where he's interviewed by Northern Ireland Invest. And he said a simple thing that actually is really, really important to remember. Particularly if you're a small company want to work with big companies, or even as an individual, and you look at big companies. His point was, in one line he said, no company ever started big. Even if you think of IBM, he said, Ford, they all started small. And they did. I mean, I was in Detroit a few weeks ago, and I mean, you're talking about, a city that's completely changed, but yet the families there are still identified, the 4 or 5 families who started with Ford. So always remember, like that, don't be worried about going into companies or bigger people or whoever you're dealing with. They've got the same number of bones in their body as you. It's as simple as that. The other thing I have to give Martin credit for, I've heard him talk to they have a scholarship scheme, and I've heard him talk the last 2 years to the scholars, and each year, and even going back 3 years ago actually, when the war had ended, he was saying, look, we started in 1973 with 7 people in Newry. You think now is a recession, you should have been around in 1973, 74, 75. And look what we've got now, like we got 10,000 people all over the world. And again, from a national point of view, he was saying, okay, everything was so negative here, but out there's a lot of positivity. And there's a lot of people who are fighting back around the world. This is a key. No matter what you're doing, no matter who you are, you've got to figure out why are you doing it. Otherwise, your life will be a misery. And that's the core of it. If you can figure out no matter what job you're doing, or no matter what you want to do in life, you've got to find out, why do I want to do it? Is it money? What is the incentive? I suppose my why has been, I went in the mid-80s and worked in England, like most people did, on the buildings in the summer. Could have been with relation to some people in the room here. And I worked with a gang of guys who were actually probably the most intelligent people that I ever came across. My father always said, never mix up education and intelligence. These guys were really, really bright. But what amazed me at the time was, Ryanair had just started, they'd never been home for about 30 or 40 years. I mean, one guy was talking about the sand roads in Galway and what was it like now. And it was only after about a month when the ganger's mother died, and I got a knock at the door where I was staying, and he arrived with, I'd say about 3,000 sterling in a plastic bag, and he handed it to me and he said, hide this in the fridge and pay them 100 on Friday, 30 on Monday and 20 on Wednesday. And he said, don't worry, you won't have to go looking for them, they'll be coming to you. Now, first of all, these guys he worked with for about years and years, there were 10 in the gang. So I obviously didn't trust them enough to give them the money. And secondly, I suddenly realised these guys were like slaves. I mean, they never had enough money to not work. They never had enough money saved to leave. So they were like basically in London. They could nearly see Ireland, hear everything about it, but they're actually stuck there. And for me, that became my driving force, because I was absolutely determined after that, no matter what happened, I would try and make sure that didn't happen to the next generation. That if people left, they would leave educated. And that's how I ended up in the education centre, and that's how I ended up science, technology and education, because 12 years ago when there was no talk about science, technology, people were saying to us, this is like the future, we've got to get more people involved in science, technology, engineering. And that was my driver. And I had the opportunities because I was a nominee director for someone who was a major property developer at the time. He's the same name as this county. And I had the opportunity to go that direction, but I decided no. So it isn't, like, quite often it isn't about money. Like, I'm happy, I love the job I'm doing. I mean, I was quoted lately, I use the Warren Buffett, I dance to work every day because I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. So if I work 15, 20 hours a week, like I did most of this week was 16, 18-hour days, it doesn't matter to me because I just enjoy it, because I know I'm making a difference. And that, for every one of you in the room, no matter what you're involved in, you've got to figure out, is that what you want to do? Dealing with big companies, simple story, you got to think win-win. Sometimes you go in and you think, God, you know, why would a company deal with us? One of our committee went to a conference last year in Tullamore. I came in at the end of the conference. One of the people who was there, he's the guy who was 12 years away from Universal Studios, he's his own company. His company made the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park in the film. And Kate went up to him afterwards and she just said, look, I really like what you were saying. And you know, he was very friendly, because you always find this, actually you will always find the people who are on top of a company, possibly outside of financial, I hope I don't insult anyone, but people who are normally from the top of a company, they're there because of their people skills. It's people around them are always the problem, because they're there because of their position. The people on top, anyone you ever meet, the people on top that you meet, well, the colleagues you want, they're always easy to deal with. Anyway, Kate decided to follow up with an email to Mark. She didn't hear back after, which kind of said to me, I sent him an email, didn't hear back. I said, I'll send him another email. She sent him another email. He kind of came back, said, yeah, I really, you know, like to hear what you're talking about. She's teaching on a 3-teacher school up near Ballinasloe. She sent him another email. Next thing he came back and really engaged. Then suddenly this conversation starts. Suddenly he's saying, hey, we'd love if you could send some of your students to Pensacola. He originally started talking about 36. We were saying, Kate, you know, I said, like, first of all, he couldn't afford 36, and secondly, 36 is just too big a number. And he was very clear. He said to us, this is a win-win situation. And you look at it and you kind of say, well, what benefit is it to them? So anyway, we proceeded to select 12 kids, send them to the States. So they arrived in the States, and it was the National Flight Academy they were going to. And the first thing the Americans did when they arrived, they changed the sign to the International Flight Academy. And the next thing, the kids were cameras in front of them, and the news piece was saying, the National Flight Academy is only open 2 months, and already they have students from Europe. And you're kind of suddenly saying, wow, to them, this was a huge benefit. And they automatically blew up the kids to, like, you know, they were from Europe, they were English speaking, you know, and like, we ended up nearly doing them a favour, because their whole publicity then for the summer was based on the fact that they had European kids, only 2 months in existence. So quite often, you can actually do people a big favour. We've the same with the companies we work with, SAP particularly. They really want to get involved with the community. They hadn't access. They couldn't get into work with schools. We had that opportunity because we work with schools on a day-to-day basis. So we were able to provide them with the access. They were able to get their employees working on all these projects to do a first Lego League. And out of that, they then, in Ireland, look so well in Europe, because Ireland is seen as the model for first Lego League. So the company here are delighted, because within Europe, they get contact from France, from all the other countries saying, how do you run it? Can you advise us? So again, it's a win-win situation. You know, you don't have to be the big strong one, but if you think around it, there's always some way to help. Another thing, this is a book that came out lately as well. This is actually the American version. The red version is the European. No matter what you're at, you've got to be trying continually small projects. So even though we were involved in teacher training, we began to try small projects. And even though you see the range of projects we've up there, we keep trying little projects, because all the stuff you see there is from my point of view, is pro bono. So if we get something out of the work we work with the companies, We put it aside into a fund. That funds the kids going off to the States. Now, our thing actually with the kids when we went to the States, our long-term plan, which we already achieved, was there wasn't so much as send the 12 kids to the States, it was to make contact. Now we have 3 universities we work with in the States, but also we could see they had a lot of software that we thought would be fantastic to use in Irish classrooms. It's flight simulators, and it's a huge load of mathematics based on the projects and the software they use. So that's why I'm saying now we already have these people asking us to test their software for them in Irish classrooms, which we have in Galway. So we now have a much stronger engagement than we had last year. But you've got to have always to be trying, like no matter what you're involved in, always be trying small things. Because if the small things work, then you can always make them much bigger. We always start little projects, but we always look at it big. We always say, the reason we started, can we scale this nationally? Can we bring this internationally? And I mean, like, we're based in Galway, and we've achieved that with a number of the projects. We have a new one to do with mini sumo robots. Like, they €25 for the little kids. This year we tried it with 10 schools came into it. And next year, we have 90 kids. The brilliant thing was 25 of them were girls. It went really well on the day. Now we can expand it. Now we look at Radisson, we might have a few hundred kids involved next year. Then we'll bring in a sponsor. Then we have something to work on. So you always got to try, no matter what you're doing, little bits and pieces to keep your interest. This won't play actually, but this is a quick story. First Lego League, we sent a team to America. Now if you saw this was in a stadium like 80,000 seater. The Black Eyed Peas gave a private concert during it. will.i.am was there like for the 3 days because he's usually into robotics. We sent a team of 5 lads from Castlebar over there, and they won one of the top 3 prizes. Again, it was the old thing. They weren't blown away with us. They just in they went. Came away with the top 3 prizes. The following year they went and they won the Google Trailblazers Award in the Young Scientist. They also then developed an app which actually if you collapse it goes off, and they won awards for that. They're only doing their leaving set this year and they've already got 5 different awards. Another team we had in the first Lego League last year, and this goes back to a little bit, they started these Mindstorm camps for kids. I brought in 2 of the guys who had won the first Lego League about 4 years ago. One of them was third eng in University in Galway, the other guy is doing teacher training in Limerick. They ran the camp, but we just tried it. We had 12 kids at it. I paid them €500 each. It was €1,000. We got 12. We broke even on it. This year they came back to me and they were asking, we think they're doing it in Mayo. And I said, look, I'm in Galway, I can't really go into Mayo. Why don't you form a company yourselves? I'll give you the kits and you can go off. They're now, this summer, going to be running summer Mindstorm camps in Mayo, because they went away and they got the school all sorted out. Galway, Science Gallery. We're kind of in negotiation that they go to Kenya to introduce First Lego League. And the other day they sent me a link from Silicon Republic where they were one of the 20 SMEs that have been selected for dividing up 150,000 worth of consultancy. Now, these are guys, again, they just, talk big. They sent, because they were in LinkedIn, they sent other applications off. They met the guys in Dragon's Den, they just are brilliant networkers. They're just really ordinary guys. One of them is finishing up next year. But again, they had no constraints when they began to think about things. And that's the fantastic thing about the next generation, and it's the fantastic thing about the technology in the next generation. These kids, if you just basically give them a chance, they will really lead us out of whatever kind of depth we're in at the moment. Okay, we good in time?
Yeah, perfect.
So maybe as well it didn't work. Any questions?
Have you started any of these courses in Northern Ireland?
No, because we, at the moment what we have is the stuff we've seen, we run it in Galway, and then we start nationally. There is a First Lego League in Northern Ireland. The Junior First Lego League, we're only one of 5 places. We only run it in Galway because Medtronic are Galway based. So we have 40 schools. The kits cost about €1,300 to give to the schools. So we have 40 schools to supply with kits. And there's only 5 places in the world that are actually running that at the moment. We're one of the 5. It's Israel, the States, and Germany and somewhere else. I don't think they started that in Northern Ireland yet. It was really sorry. Some of the things the kids come up with. This year they had to. They're always given topic. So the topic was you had to look at problems that people over 60 have, and then create a solution. And I was going around with the Medtronic guy the other night, and one of them had created a bed. Now they actually make these in Lego and then they have moving parts because they program it, you see. And so they had this bed that would turn you out and the nurse was standing at the same level. Now obviously you wouldn't really want it in the hospital because you'd have a lot more patients in the hospital than were coming out of it. But the guy who was with me was looking at it and he suddenly said, you know what, he said to the kids, I have a couple of teenagers at home and that'd be really so sometimes you think you're creating something for one reason and another reason happened. Another one they created was because they went and they spoke to all of the older people in the nursing homes and they discovered one of the problems from the nurses is that older people fall asleep with books in front of them and then they kind of wake and they don't know what the page they are. So they created a special kind of a little, I don't know what you call it, but you basically sit your book in it and even if you did fall asleep, it would still kind of stay open. So the next thing they told us then was they wanted to create something that would turn the pages for people who couldn't turn the pages. And it's like 6 to 9 year olds and they have no kind of boundaries on what they can fix or what they can do. Yeah.
Have you come across the Fab Labs concept?
No.
There's just one set up in Belfast and one in Derry, and
Okay.
backed by MIT, and basically it's
Brilliant.
digital fabrication
Yeah.
to create 3D models and
Oh.
all sorts of things. I just think it might be useful for
I'd
them
love to,
have a
yeah.
look to see what they're doing. I went to their launch recently and they got some European funding for it.
Okay.
And
Not
by
nice.
MIT it has a bit of prestige as well, so it
Brilliant.
just might be something.
Sure.
Their model's slightly different than yours. You're teaching teachers and they bring their concept into the community. So the North
Okay.
Centre in Derry is a community project and Ashton Centre in Belfast is a community-based project. So maybe
Yeah, I'd be interested because I hope there's no from the department here, isn't it? Because okay, we're training teachers, but when we go back to our why, if we do this as a committee, our why is to change kids' lives. No, we can't kind of say that to the department because they're funding X amount of what we're doing. But you can see all the projects, we focus straight in on the kids. And in fact, in the first Lego League, we've now moved from, there are more teams involved who are, I would describe them, the guys who used to run the JA and soccer team but are into robotics. There's more teams run from community than anything else. And interesting, just you mentioned it, Financial Times magazine 3 weeks ago has a full piece on the MIT Media Lab. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff that they're working on in there. And they've created a car that will, you get out of it, it self-parks, and then it folds. So you can fit 4 cars in the same car space you used to have one in before. And they have these already in Europe. But I was fascinated because like Lego is one of the main instruments that they actually use for, and you can see it here, for creativity and for development. And so that's good. But thanks, yeah, I'll follow that one up. Any other questions?
Just in terms of your own work and your own consultancy, would just love to hear you sharing that with, particularly in North, what we deal with in terms of civil servants who don't see that the mission is the kids. And one of the things that I found with running a programming exercise is the teachers are actually afraid to not be as smart as the kids. And better educated the kids are, and the more at ease folks like you can make them feel about that, the faster things will change.
Except the first point, yes, again, I mean, I shouldn't be saying, but we're not popular within the Department of Education because they don't control all of these other aspects that we get the money from. That's why we have to be twice as good as running our courses as we should normally, because they're always wondering what are we actually doing. So yes, civil servants don't see this at all. And that's why you gotta, I'm lucky because I have a committee who are strong enough that they actually, as I said, because we know our why, we're going to stick with it no matter what. So yes, I agree. The second thing is, totally agree with you. One of the biggest challenges we had with the first Lego League when we started was teachers saying to us, oh, I don't know how to program a Mindstorm Lego, what am I going to do? And what we always say to them is, okay, the most important thing that you can do is actually get out of the way. Because the kids will do this a lot faster than you will, and then you won't have to look as if you're foolish or anything like that. And we've got that culture now with people that they just actually, we say to the teachers, you're a guide on the side, let them off and let them come up with whatever it is. But it's a cultural change, it takes time, and that's why quite often the people we're dealing with at the moment are the pioneers. They're the people who are, you always go to the kind of same schools, the same teachers who've got this passion to go and try things out. What you try to do is then embed it gradually into the rest of the system. Sure.
In my work, I'm very conscious of children and trying to get the information out to them because they're the next generation.
Yeah.
Do you have any health-based courses or things like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're working with Medtronic, one of our programs is called Healthy Living.
Yeah.
So we have actually one of the, and it's not a technology, one of the best successes, and we tried it like these small, like I'm talking about the small bits, we tried this in 2 schools and just went, wow, everyone said fantastic, skipping. And it's no cost, kids love it, it's gender neutral because boys see it for boxing, girls love skipping. We have a guy who comes in from the UK, he's brilliant, so he spends a day in the school and they're trying to fund. But I mean, you don't have to bring anyone particularly in. But he's really good at teaching them, first of all, skipping, then you have teamwork, then you have double ropes. In fact, 2 weeks' time, we've gone from the stage where we started with 4 schools, we went to 8 schools last year, we have 16 schools this year, and we're having a Medtronic skipping championship on June the 19th, where like some of them do it on time and some of them do it on, the different competitions that I would be. So the idea is that we go in and work with the skipping, and then we have a guy who goes in, and instead of kind of saying, well, you shouldn't be really smoking, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be, he goes in and said, now, you know how you could be really good at skipping? You could actually get your muscles improved and strengthened if you eat this food on the food pyramid. So what you do is you build a science lesson on the basis of what's happening with skipping. And we've also found with some of the kids, 2 kids that were absolutely brilliant at it, their academic achievements have gone through the roof because they now are good at something. What we're really trying to do is provide opportunities for kids. I mean, any of you see Ken Robinson, he's always worth watching, in all different areas. Because some of us love like Lego, some of us love skipping, some people love everyone in the room here is different. And that's why you give it the duck at the start, because what happens with the duck is there's no right and wrong with that duck. Everyone in this room will make a different duck. Because every one of us has a different interest or a different passion. And so it's to find what that passion is in kids, so they feel, hey, I'm actually really good at this. And if they feel they're really good at one thing, then everything else just walks away from that. So yeah, we also have Medtronic people who go out and do heart dissections on sheep's hearts in schools. You get all these infants like sticking their finger in the aorta. Like the other night, some of the presentations they had the other night at Medtronic project like were just phenomenal. So yeah, we have a total health aspect of it, as well as the whole science part. Very good.
Last question for Bernard.
Sorry, in terms of e-learning going forward, is there any software that you use in some of the
Wouldn't be here if I knew that, to be honest with you. Our main focus at the moment is on, we're working with Scratch, which is similar to the Code of Dojos. So we have a lot of the summer camps we're having is Scratch, and getting the kids, it's kind of really gone back, like in the UK, it's gone back into coding. And that's mainly because like the bigger employers are looking for people who can code. So that's driving that at the moment. I think that will move around a bit. We think that the games-based software is going to be really, really big because you're going to get predictive boys to interact with that. But we also, and this is actually, the final thing I say, when we went last year and sent the kids to the state, we sent 7 girls and 5 boys, and we'll do again the same this year because we want to make a statement for women.
Thank you.
All right.